with it being down to peak week. Here's the
So I'm gonna have to bend down because Dom's attached the camera to something that can only be described as a midget height. So I'm just gonna stand in this position.
It's my height.
But based on the board behind us, we've wrote out a few things on peak week, such as the truths, the tips, and the myths.
Dan's had a sports massage.
Yeah, honestly, I'm absolutely fucked. I am battered.
Right, so we're talking about truths, tips, and myths surrounding peak week.
So obviously, peak week is the last week up to a show. So a week out from a show, people generally call it peak week, and
why is it actually called peak week?
I don't know, but it's basically just where people try and manipulate a lot of variables that don't actually necessarily need to be manipulated. So what we've highlighted are the main ones that we feel that has a hype around them in order to create like
a male and female perspective as well.
Yeah, not just that, but like we feel like peak week's got this, like people think something magical is going to happen when really.
So what have we written here, Daniel?
Yeah, no, nothing magic will happen. Yeah, exactly. But we're going to discuss things such as water manipulation, sodium and potassium manipulation, carb loading, changing food sources and variables. Peak week training and cardio and supplementation.
And how it differs for men and women, because obviously Dan and me will not have the same peak week protocol at all. So I'll briefly touch on how it varies for women, but we're going to be focusing more around men because that's obviously Dan's limelight.
Yeah, we don't have to. We can actually break this down quite simple, and I'll just tell you from my point of view, from my perspective with clients, peak week is nothing magical. All I'll generally tend to do is the last few days before a show, I'll bring protein down and I'll manipulate calories from carbohydrates and fats, depending on how lean they are. The way I look at things, if a client is checking in 2 weeks out, a week out, and they're looking ready, and that's how I want them on stage, but a little bit fuller, then nothing needs to be changed. So things like, let's start with like changing food sources and changing variables. A lot of people do things such as like they change all the fibre, they change all the broccoli and green beans and all the food they've been eating to things like asparagus.
Like if you've dieted for 12 to 16 weeks or more and you've been eating rice, sweet potato, rice cakes and jam, for instance, and then all of a sudden you change all your carb sources to oats, bagels, honey and Haribo, your body's not going to have a clue what to do with it, and you don't know how it's going to respond.
You might digest it with no issue, but then you might digest it and you might bloat. So generally, again, with my clients, they will not eat anything that they've not ate previously in the past 4 weeks.
Yeah.
And that goes for vegetables as well. If they've been digesting broccoli, green beans, kale, spinach, whatever, butternut squash, soup mixes like Dom eats, if they've been digesting them effectively, nothing will change. Changing to an asparagus from a broccoli is not going to do anything but make you piss smell. It's as simple as that. And then food sources, just don't overcomplicate it. Why do you need to be adding in food sources you've not digested in a long time? You don't need to. Just keep things.
In my opinion, if you're competing, you should be ready at least 2 to 3 weeks before you actually compete. So there should be nothing to make you panic and change all your food sources last minute, because you should already be looking sort of stage ready 2 to 3 weeks before, and then all you simply do is continue. Because if you look that good on a daily basis and all you're doing is eating your food, drinking your water, training, why would you change that in the last week when you really don't know how your body's going to respond?
And things like that.
And plus, if you're ready earlier, you can see how your body responds to higher carbs, higher fats, lower carbs, and lower fats, and things like that. You can play around with variables before the actual week, so you can see how your body will respond then closer to a show. Rather
you can even do a trial.
Yeah, you can do a trial.
Not peak week, but you can. Generally, what I'll do is I'll find. Like say if I were prepping a female, for example, I'll refeed them and I'll see how they are affected, how they wake up, do they look better. after refeeding on carbohydrates, do a lot better after just doing a few high days and having fats with that. And then generally going into a show, I'll have an understanding that's even more accurate to them personally.
Yeah.
But it's honestly, guys, it's just nothing fancy. I mean, I wish I could tell you on YouTube now that it's you need like doing this and X, Y, and Z is going to change your physique dramatically. But the thing is, what you've done for the past 16 weeks is what matters. This final week is just about being consistent and just cruising into the show. Yeah, it's about honestly maintaining stress levels and controlling stress levels and controlling your mindset is the biggest key in peak week.
Yeah, so that's probably the biggest tip, and we've discussed this because Dan's had a couple of stressful days. Most people do, not from prep, from other things, but just try and minimise anything that's going to cause you stress during that week, because that is the most crucial part of your peak week or competition prep full stop, or any journey.
Stress will affect water retention, inflammation, digestion, so obviously causing bloating and things like that. So if you can manage cortisol and you can manage stress, you'll find that your peak week will be a lot easier, and you'll probably find that your weight begins to drop the closer you get to the show. Or you might even just maintain it, you'll maintain a good physique. Let's just cover carb loading, because carb loading is pretty easy. The point behind carb loading is mainly male oriented. Females will need it as well at points, because
not loading though, just a slight.
Yeah, just basically if you've done excessive cardio into a show and you've done a low carbohydrate diet, or you've just been in a deficit for a long time, your muscle glycogen is going to be depleted. When a muscle is depleted, it's soft, it's flat, there's nothing in it. So
that's when you get that like hollow midsection look, like
so
skeletal.
And when you carbohydrate load, basically you pull water and sodium into the muscle, and glycogen is restored, making that muscle fuller. It's as simple as that. So that's where bodybuilders are depleted, and then next thing, the excessive amounts of carbohydrates, and they just fill out dramatically. And that's just carbohydrates, that's just glycogen being restored, and like I said, it's water and sodium being pulled into the muscle.
Yeah, so it's nothing magic, it's just your muscle basically filling up and swelling.
Yeah. And then the thing where a lot of people go wrong is that they do too much carbohydrates, and then they cause their glycogen levels to spill, and that's where you hear things of people like, oh, I spilled, my condition wasn't good, I look soft, I look watery, and that's because they've just ate too much carbohydrates. You don't really, like, you'll hear of like freak bodybuilders who do 1200 gram carb loads, but generally you don't need that much. And if you do, there's two ways to go about it sometimes. I sometimes start males off higher and then bring them lower into a show, or I'll start them low, and if they need more, we'll increase as the show gets closer.
Which is generally when they're going to need them more anyway.
Yeah, and to be fair, bikini girls, I'll probably do that with them as well, but bikini girls generally, the only thing I'm looking at is their glutes. Just make sure their glutes aren't loose. I just want the glutes hard. Which sometimes can be hard because obviously they stop training legs because you want their inflammation, and that you don't want the legs watery on stage. So if you tell them to stop training legs a week or 10 days out, it's quite hard to make that muscle look full and good without giving them like a high carb day or something like that. So I'll always get them through some form of isolation work. But carb loading is another one. It's not so much a myth, but it's probably just not as important as what
there's a lot of hype around it due to social media, in my opinion, just because you'll see like one bikini girl sees another bikini girl eating whitefish and asparagus for 4 days, and then eating all these carbs for 2 days, and they get sucked into that, and then they're asking their coaches that don't follow this approach, like me and Dan, why am I not doing that? Well, you're not doing it because you don't need to, for one, but two, just don't get sucked into it. You don't need that at all.
And this relates to the point we've just covered as well, the fact that carb loading, obviously you're putting carbohydrates in the body, it's where people start to change carbohydrate sources and go from digesting sweet potato to suddenly just eating 6 rice cakes and 30 gram of jam and honey and bagels and whatnot. I mean, my carb load, which you're going to see this week, is actually based around cereals, Nutrigrain bars, Squares bars.
Stuff you've digested before.
But this is all stuff I've kept in my diet throughout the prep, which is different because a lot of people don't do that. Next one, let's talk about peak week training and cardio. Depending on your sex and depending on what competition you're doing, maybe. It might vary. To be honest, I'll just what I've done this year actually, and what I've been guilty of is not taking as many rest days as what I should have, and that's my mindset, thinking, oh, I need to work into the show, then rest up into the show. But actually, it was quite detrimental. It caused me to look inflamed. I felt fatigued.
And my actual words were?
I don't know.
Would you tell any of your clients to do this?
Exactly, no, I wouldn't. So rest days still should be in there. I don't care if you compete on a Saturday. Today is Tuesday, I compete Saturday, and I'm taking a rest day today. Wednesday and Thursday, I'll train. Let's not so much as hype, but people suddenly change their training for the week to go to glycogen depletion workouts. So they go high reps for excessive sets, thinking the more they deplete the glycogen, the more sensitive they're going to be to the carbohydrate uptake on carb loading. Which, to an extent, I don't really mind. To be honest, the work's being done at this stage. If that's what people want to do, fair enough. But really, just keep your training the same. You are going to be drier, you are going to be weaker, you're going to be fatigued, so you're not going to be setting no PBs. As long as you're hitting 2-3 sets per muscle group on each exercise, for 8 to 15 reps, you're going to be fine.
Yeah.
And cardio, obviously cardio you're going to taper out.
Yes, some people
depends
like
on,
I've removed cardio like 2 weeks before shows before now.
And I've done it this time, but I've also listened to a podcast with AJ Morris, and he said he did cardio on the morning of his show.
Yeah,
so
because that's when he looked best.
Exactly. And what we said before is, if you look good a week out, and you check in on the Saturday before your show, and you look ready there, then why change anything?
Yeah, it's a very individual thing.
You might do cardio all the way up to the show on the Friday morning, then put some carbs in, then, or you might even do carbs on Thursday and Friday, but you just get cardio in. Yeah. So it's definitely person dependent, but as a rule of thumb, generally with a client, I'll taper it out, but it totally depends on their client and their condition at that specific point. Because obviously, you've got to think, you've stopped training legs 10 days out, a week out. Cardio is still leg work. You're still walking on your legs. You want to rest them as much as possible now.
Because you are still going to be using them to walk around as well.
Yeah,
and chances are you're going to be doing a lot of running around into your show for things like what we're about to go and do, like shopping, sorting your hair out, sorting your beard out if you're done, having spray tan, having your nails done, things like that. You're going to be doing a lot of running around, shopping for foods and things like that. So staying off your feet in terms of cardio is beneficial. Let's briefly touch on water manipulation.
Gonna go?
For a girl, it's not necessary.
What have you done in your preps?
In my preps, so I work with Josh McHale, who is my coach, and when I've previously prepped for shows, I've not manipulated water, kept water high throughout my prep, and then the day before, the only thing I did was the night before, cut it back at about 9 o'clock at night, and then just sipped on water, but still drank it all as normal on show day. I obviously wasn't down in gallons like I would normally, but then on show day you're not doing things you normally do. Like normally I'd be getting up, I'd be leaving the house at 5, I'd be training, I'd be doing cardio. So on show day, just sip water as and when I remember to, but I don't completely put it out. I have done that previously. I don't know if Dan's hinting to this. I actually passed out on the morning of my show because of dehydration once, because I dehydrated overnight, didn't drink anything in the morning thinking I would look leaner and tighter, and I actually just passed out, had to have Lucozade and orange juice poured into me, still competed and looked horrendous.
What people forget to take into account is that water actually helps transport minerals and nutrients to muscles. Yeah. So if you're carb loading and you've cut water, this is where people again can look soft and flat. It's important that water's not. You might cut it 10 p.m. the night before the show, and then obviously, which we're going to cover in a second, supplementation. You might have been taking things like a natural diuretic, which is going to help you strip excess water that you may contain anyway. Yeah. Which you got to think, like, if you cut water 10 p.m. the night before a show, or even before bed, which you might go to bed at midnight. You're then going to sleep for 8 hours or so, and then you're going to be up in the morning. Like, that's still a long time. You're going to be dehydrated when you wake up. That's why when you wake up now, you're always you dehydrate, you're driest in the morning. So again, it relates back to if you're ready for a week out from your show, you weren't cutting water then. So there's no real need for you to cut water now. In bodybuilding and things like that.
Just go get sucked into it again. Another thing, go get sucked into it.
Yeah, I won't be cutting water over the next 4 days going into my show at the PCA. And to be honest, if I was told to, I'd probably have no intention of doing so.
I think we both probably tried and trialed and errored that a little bit, and it just doesn't really. It's not necessary.
I've done the whole, you know, like Monday to Friday, you compete on a Saturday. I've done the whole Monday 5 litres, Tuesday 6 litres, Wednesday 8 litres, Thursday 10 litres, Friday 4 litres, and then finish it before 6 p.m. and cut sodium and things like that, because sodium will, if you cut sodium, he'll pull water into the muscle and things like that. It'll make you hold water, so to speak. So I've done all that and I've looked no better for it. Probably looked worse if anything, because then I had a dry white wine and I felt like that sacrificed condition even more. Which is another thing we've touched on. People drink alcohol night before a show, or even on the day of a show.
It'll do minimal.
Yeah,
if you're not ready, it's not going to make you dry out overnight. You're still going to look.
If your condition is crisp and you're like, and you are shredded, then yes, dry white wine night before a show might contribute to dehydrating you a little bit more.
But if you're that dry, you don't need it either.
Yeah, exactly. Again, it depends on what category you're doing. A bikini girl drinking dry white wine night before a show, is it like, I've done it before with clients and said, yeah, you know what, I've a small glass, that's fine, but
it's generally for relaxation.
That's just satisfaction, because they'll be like, oh, I want to wake up drier, so their psychological state is in a much better position. But really, like with me, I'm just like, yeah, he's not doing it. So supplementation, yeah. Vitamin C is a popular one. Dandelion root's a popular one.
There are products like H2O Remove and things like that. You can get water retention tablets. Again, they'll help, but they're not going to work any miracles. So we might use them the final couple of days in peak week. You might take them the final couple of days in peak week, but they're not going to do anything. Things like taking a load of fat burners.
They will contribute. I mean, like taking 500 mg of vitamin C 4 times a day, you will notice that you will wee slightly more, for example. It might contribute, but
you'll wee more and it'll be bright yellow.
Yeah, the point of us listing supplements is just to state that basically if you go to bed looking like Homer Simpson and you take vitamin C all day and 3 capsules of dandelion root, you're not going to wake up looking like Philippe, like, or Jeff, Steve Cooker, whatever people are following nowadays. That's basically what we're trying to say. Like, it might contribute a little bit, but again, your condition already needs to be on point. My plans personally, I've got nothing lined up, so no diuretics lined up. With clients, how do I take this approach? Yeah, I might put in some dandelion root, simple as that. Depending on their client. Yeah, dandelion root, or well, personally, I'm not plugging anything, but it would be H2O Remove. And another supplement I would advise would be their Matador. It's a glucose disposal agent. So what you do is you take these capsules whilst you're carb loading, and they basically help transport the insulin, transport the carbohydrates into the muscle cells and not the fat cells. It's as simple as that. And it is a really good product. And then what I'll get people doing when they're relaxing is just pausing between meals. Simple as that, to help
nerves.
Yeah, not nerves all, but I feel that if they're contracting muscles and they're eating constantly,
it is going to pull into the muscle.
Yeah, it's going to pull into the muscles that you're tensing and whatnot. So I think that's pretty much everything covered.
We're just going to give you some final tips on peak week and prep in general. So first one, focus on you. You go.
What Don means by focus on yourself is basically ignore what you see on social media. You will make friends in prep. You'll discuss when times are hard and things like that. So the best thing that you can do is keep your sanity and focus on what you and your coach have set out to do. Don't worry about...
not even just social media, like people that you might be friends with at the gym that are competing at the same times, or people that have competed before, things like that.
They'll always there'll always be somebody who will contradict your methods or your coach's methods, saying, "Oh, well, I'd do this," and then it'll make you self-doubt yourself a little bit. So focus on yourself. Don't worry about what other people are doing. You've worked that hard to get where you are now. Just stick to the plan, which is also what we've wrote here. Stick to the plan.
Yeah, so don't listen to what other people are saying. Don't look at what other people are doing. Just focus on what you've already planned and focus on that and just go with it, and it'll work. If you start stressing, it's not going to work, which leads into
stress less. So what we mean by stress less is just stress less. Manage your cortisol levels. There's no need for you to be stressed. If you're organised and you know what's happening for that week in regards to what you need to do, it might be different with your food and whatnot, because like when I have guys and girls in peak week, I amend their plans on a daily basis. So I know that can be quite difficult, but as long as you're organised in regards to accommodation, tan, and you've got your training routine set up and you know what you're doing on that front, then...
But even if things go wrong, just don't stress about it. Like, it's a show. Like, you don't need to stress about it. The world's not going to end and everything is fixable. So just stress less. I used to just have numerous laugh or cry moments every single day when I prepped. Like, something would go wrong every single day. And it just never ever fazed me. Like, I was so laid back, I was practically asleep when I prepped, so...
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it, innit? Just stick to the plan. If you've got a coach, listen to what your coach is saying. He's your coach for a reason. He's got you to where you are now, or she has got you to where you are now.
Yeah, I was going to say, she. Be organised, so just make sure you've got everything sorted, and that's going to lead to you being less stressed and being able to stick to the plan. So there are 4 top tips. Stress less, be organised, focus on you, and stick to the plan. Don't say that one.
That's pretty much it. I'm flagging that.
Okay.
Yeah? Right.
So, bye.